This is Karina Michaela, and you are listening to Doggy Time on DentonRadio.com.
A man likes to feel free when he's in a tight corner, virtually uncrushable, looking great whatever happens.
These are the in-touch people, the people who own London. They have fun, they have style, they're in touch. They start the trends, they pick the places, they make the shows.
It's Doggy Time!
Look at your squiggly things. Those are great. A lot of people, when they start yakking, their squiggly things are way too small.
Oh.
But some people have naturally big squiggly things, and that worked out pretty good.
I've been frequently complimented on my squiggly things.
Are your squiggly things outstanding or merely remarkable?
I don't think it's my place to say.
I would bring it up. This may be your last chance.
I would like all of Denton to know my squiggly things are superb.
You have it here first, my cats and kittens. Torres has got great squiggly things. Paws up, my cats and kittens. You are listening to Doggy Time on DentonRadio.com. I am your host and humble narrator, Bone Doggie, here to remind you that it is better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak out and remove all doubt. All right, my cats and kittens. We hope that everybody sufficiently survived and or recuperated from this weekend. This weekend, of course, being the 32nd annual Denton Arts and Jazz Festival up at Quakertown Park. The estimate was going to be about 200,000 people for this weekend, my cats and kittens, and apparently they hit that mark. According to the Fort Worth Startlegram, that's about the number that they had, and they're contributing that to the fair weather that we had all weekend. It's the first time in a long time. It's the first time that I can remember in a long time where the weather was actually wonderful all weekend. There was no walking around any mud or anything like that, which, granted, that always gives a little bit of ambiance to the festival itself. But the weather all weekend was beautiful. Of course, the vendors had a great time. There were a lot of people there, a lot of people eating. I loved walking through the park and just smelling, with my nose up in the air, just taking in the funnel cake and the corn and the occasional sausage, and then, the beer hollering at you from across the lawn over there. And so the atmosphere was excellent. They changed some things, if you hadn't noticed, my cats and kittens, where they took all the main stages and flipped them over to the larger side of the park and took the smaller stages and shoved them over on the McKinney side of the park. And one thing it did do, and I think this was supposed to happen, is it really took care of that CF, and you know what I'm saying, that always happened on the bridge over there by the Civic Center. They put in some new sidewalks over there, and they just made a lot of things more accessible. And I think the traffic flowed a lot better. I heard a lot of people that were kind of grumbling about the changes, but all at the end of the day, I don't think anybody was unhappy about the way things were set up and the way things went off. And of course, my cats and kittens, all our buddies that were out there playing, Kelby Shrunk and Immigrant Punk. We had Polly Maynard and Drew Phelps and his bunch played up there. Burton Tyler played up there. Old Mr. Joe Pinson played up there, and we also got to see Le Not So Hot Club. Got up there with Thad Bonduras and that bunch and just tore the place up. There was a lot of DentonRadio.com people up there. One of the acts I saw that really, really impressed me was I believe it was the Denton High School Jazz Band. They played right before us over on the celebration stage, and those kids rocked. That was awesome. They had vocals and just solos going on, and it was very, very impressive by cats and kittens. And of course, your Hickory Street Hellraisers, along with your humble narrator Bone Doggie, got up on the stage Saturday night, and we were a little bit worried. I got to admit, we were a little bit worried about being stuck over there on the far side of the compound, if you want to call it that, on the McKinney Street. But we were pleasantly surprised. I think we ended up with about 300 and some odd people sitting over there. And we did have a good time. We want to give big shout out to all of the sound crews, all of the stage crews. They took care of us. They made us feel like we were at home, and they made everything just run as smooth as you possibly can in such a setting. So we want to give a shout out to the organizers, all of the groups that got to play, and especially my cats and kittens, to all y'all that showed up and just made the weekend a marvelous place to be. So Denton Arts and Jazz, number 32. That was the actual 4th time that Bone Doggie and the Hickory Street Hellraisers have got to play over there. Oh, and I want to give one extra special shout out, my cats and kittens, to the folks that we call the Hickory Street Irregulars. And the Hickory Street Irregulars are a group of kids. There's Xaviera and Serafina and Damian Stevens, Ivy Rose, Malachi and Izzy were in there. And actually there was a few Hickory Street Irregulars that I did not know. These guys get up there and sing with Bone Doggie and the Hickory Street Hellraisers every Jazz Fest. We have a special song for them. They are actually on our CD. And the kids all got in the spirit. They all dressed up to the nines. And I think the crowd, the look on the crowd's face, a lot of those folks had never seen Bone Doggie and the Hickory Street Hellraisers. And the looks on their face when we brought up, I think it was a good 8 or 9 kids, shoved them around the Duchess's microphone over there, and they just got into the spirit. They had people clapping their hands and wagging their tail. So it was a huge opportunity to have those guys up there, and they come through with flying colors. So a big love, a big heart, big paws up, and a big shout out to our Hickory Street Irregulars. And now, my cats and kittens, we need to bring up something a little bit more serious. This weekend, our good brother Casey Sparks, who is the drummer from My Boys, 1140. If you've heard me talk about him on this radio show, you know that 1140's got a deep place in Bone Doggie's heart. We've been through a lot together, played a lot of gigs, and had a lot of fun. This last Friday, brother Casey Sparks, the drummer for 1140, had a bicycle accident, and he is now currently, I believe, in the Medical Center of Plano. He's in critical condition. From what I understand, he is actually in a coma, and he is a fighter, and we're in there with him. But we want to send out our special thoughts and prayers and all our positive energy. If you want to check out the situation and help out a little bit, you can go to caringbridge.org. That's caringbridge.org. /visit/Casey Sparks, CASEYSPARKS. That's caringbridge.org. Visit Casey Sparks. And don't forget your forward slashes in there. Oh, I am so technologically impaired. But anyway, go check that out, my cats and kittens. But most especially and most importantly, send your prayers, send your love, and send your positive vibes to 1140. This is a good bunch of boys here, and we support them every way we can. And something like this, we just hate to see. So we're standing by them, and we're going to help them out. Brother Casey, you come back to us.
Doggy time.
Doggy time.
Doggy time.
Doggy time.
Doggy time.
It's doggy time.
Paws up, my cats and kittens. This is your host and humble narrator, Bone Doggie, here to remind you that every Tuesday night at 8 p.m., Doggy Time sets fire to the airwaves on DentonRadio.com by bringing you news and information, innuendo, murder, mayhem, and the best of Denton music, not to mention the humor, love, and insight straight from the lights of Backwater Opera, Soul Tax, Ashley Gatta, and of course, the occasional Hickory Street Hellraiser, just to name a few. Now we know that as we suffer the day-to-day slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, my cats and kittens, you can't always bank on being in front of one of these digital contraptions every Tuesday night. Well, old Bone Doggie is here to caress your earbones with a bit of joyous news. You can hear Doggy Time anytime simply by going to DentonRadio.com and clicking the button on our player that is sporting the visage of yours truly. Or if you want the direct route, visit our blog at DentonRadioblog.com and click the Doggy Time button there. And as an extra bonus, my cats and kittens, you will also have the past episodes of Doggy Time at your fingertip. Paradise is but a mouse click away. So feel free, my cats and kittens, to sit back, relax, and at your leisure, listen to Doggy Time anytime on DentonRadio.com. Can you dig it?
I can dig it.
I can dig it.
I can dig it.
I can dig it.
We can dig it.
I knew that you could. All right, my cats and kittens, I think it is wise, prudent, moral, and just at this time to go ahead and walk down the road less traveled and introduce our special guest for this week. I think we originally met at Banter. That's probably, he's nodding at me. He's not saying anything because he doesn't have the speaking cue yet, which is very good. He is the head honcho of something called Poetry Out Loud, and I'm sure we'll be talking about that in a few minutes. He is the one, the only, Mr. Robert Torres. Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm just dandy.
I was going to say you could talk now. Okay, there you go.
Sorry, I'm very well trained.
Okay, very good. Yeah, we need to back off on your microphone a little bit there.
Sorry.
So, because your squiggly things are out of control now. So, okay.
Me and my wild squiggly things.
Just wild squiggly things. So, thank you so much for coming out and doing this. I really do appreciate it.
I'm very happy to be here.
And I understand that you just spent the week auditioning.
I did. UNT, Department of Dance and Theater, just held their auditions for their fall shows for A Jazz Midsummer and Cinderella for children. Right. I've been cast as Gallifron and Cinderella for kids.
Gallifron, all right.
He's one of the evil courtiers that runs around with the prince. It's very exciting stuff.
Well, is the prince himself evil?
No. The prince is a very swell guy, in the words of the director.
He just has Gallifron haunting in the background.
Yes.
There you go. So you're going to be lurking the better bulk of the time.
If I can help it, yes.
In front of children. That's creepy, Torres. That's real weird.
I have a lot of experience lurking in front of children.
Okay. Well, we don't need to be talking about that. or bringing up your former chat room experience. You won't, and I won't either. And we'll both try to stay safe on that.
Sorry, is that the blue thing we were talking about?
Probably so. It could head down that road real quick if we're not careful. So you auditioned for this, you got the part, and so when does production start?
We start rehearsing in late August, and we go up the first week in October.
Why so early on the auditions? Because of summer break and all of that, or?
Right. Just they do all their administrative stuff at the tail end of this semester, and then we all jump into it in the fall semester.
Oh, okay. Are you going to be doing any work during the summer?
Not if I can help it.
Not if you can help it. Oh, I see a coup coming on. Okay, I'm taking this thing over. And,
No. Hopefully we'll be given scripts soon, and then by August I'll be off book, so we can immediately start into character work.
Oh, very cool, very cool. And the production is supposed to roll. Any idea?
Early October.
Early October. Very cool. Very cool.
It's actually really cool because unlike most shows, since this one is targeted specifically towards children, we're actually doing 2 morning shows and 2 matinees during the week, so that local schools can come in and bring their classes to watch this production.
They are actually going to be coming to you.
Yes, they're busing them in.
Oh, they're busing the children in to see the play. That's awesome, because we are kind of torn with busing. We're not sure exactly, but if they're going to bus them in to see, Cinderella.
Yes.
Yes, Cinderella. Then that might be a plus. I don't know. It depends.
It's a cultural event.
It's a cultural event, and with lurking. So there you go.
Maybe we can trick more kids into being theater majors when they grow up.
Oh, you think that'd be a plus?
No comment.
No comment on that. Well, how big is the department?
I'm not entirely sure. I'd ballpark it around 200.
Really?
Split about evenly between performance focuses and design focuses.
Right. And tech. Do you ever do tech?
Yes,
I don't think we've ever talked about that, whether you do tech or not.
I do very little,
Right.
but I just assistant stage managed the faculty dance concert.
Ah, okay.
Which closed this Sunday. It was a Moving Stories Past and Present. They had a lot of really cool pieces.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. And it was the faculty dance.
Yeah.
So all the codgers got out there and lindied.
No.
Oh, come on.
Luckily, the faculty choreographs.
Oh, okay.
And our very skilled dance students perform their pieces.
Oh, okay. So you didn't have Lindy or two-step or anything like that?
No. There was one piece with a little bit of ballet. But most of them was very modern.
Well, I'm not real a big fan of ballet.
I'm not either.
It's the tights. I picture, but I don't think I could wear them. So, one of the things that kept me out of a lot of Shakespeare was the tights. The boots were cool. I could dig with those, but, the tights, I'm out. I'm done.
I think we're all thankful for that.
Okay, good. Speaking of tights, all right,
Where's this going now?
I don't know. Actually, it is time that, since we have expounded our words of wisdom here, that we bring up one of our segments that we're very fond of. It is the lovely segment called Bam Bam Cares.
And now, friends, another edition of Bam Bam Cares.
If you're going to construct a giant Tesla coil in your living room to simulate lightning for your Thor vlog, watch where you set your Yoo-hoo. Bam Bam Cares.
Tune in next week, friends, for another edition of Bam Bam Cares.
Doggie, I think we've saved lives today.
I know. It touches the soul.
It's a public service you do here.
It is a public service. We like to give to the community as much as we possibly can take from them, which we, suck dry like a vampire most of the time anyway. So,
as any good artist does.
Thank you very much. Okay. Speaking of good artists, it's about time that we flip to the section of the show where we bring up a featured artist and some good old rock and roll this time around. This is Brother Daniel Markin and his tune Backyard, and you are listening to Doggie Time on DentonRadio.com. Can you dig it?
I can dig it.
I knew you could. Good evening and welcome to Word Chat. I am your host, Conrad Nettlesworth, and tonight's habitué is the eminent Professor Emeritus of Linguistics from the University of Waterloo, Professor Laszlo Schmidt. Good evening, Professor, and thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Nettlesworth. I am most facilitated to be here, and I must say what a ubiquitous studio you have here. I find the atmosphere most inviting and omnipresent.
Now, Professor, as I understand it, you have just implicated in printed form a new literary volume which subsequently ascribes to the deseloquation that some words are highly misinterpreted, if not farcical.
That belief is quite solemnified, Mr. Nettlesworth. Over the course of my aggrandized tenure as Professor Emeritus of Linguistics, I have come to the conclusion that much of our language is either vastly elastified, or in regressive effect, divergently encroached, and I feel that it is within my obligatory circumference to rectify the situation. For example, the name strawberry is far too adventitious for such a small diadem.
And what new modicum would you use to adjust for this perfunctory deficit?
I refer to the strawberry as the schmort, which is a derivation of the Latin schmortilistus regulus yum yum, which, roughly translated, means little red thing that tastes good.
Oh, I find your adjustment to the common modicum to be quite galvanizing in intent, Professor Schmidt. Some other confabulations that you have overtured are particularly interesting. For example, the word hammer. You have reconfigured to be pronounced banganockerin.
Yes, Mr. Nettlesworth. Or to be more adroitly accurate, heavy banganockerin. I think the thing speaks for itself.
That seems to be an even more substantiate galvanization. Now, Mr. Schmidt, as we have addressed words in which you have assumed to repudiate their occasionally, if not intermittently, wrongful meanings, we find some suppositions of grammatical entendre to be accurate within a rather Brobdingnagian scope.
Absolutely, Mr. Nettlesworth. Over the course of this sometimes arduous occupational exercise, I have ascertained that some superderogatory monikers, particularly used as phrases, are quite accurate and incontrovertible. The phrase live Denton music, for example, may seem characteristically eccentric. However, one would be hard-pressed to find a more reasonable example of a grammatical purveyance. It is, in essence, the perfect phrase.
Live Denton music meaning just that.
I would venture so far as to say it is indisputable that the city of Denton carries with it an enormous facilitation of all various and distinctive manners of muse, and as an extraneous premium to this application of the rule, those local Dentonites that undertake the skillful execution of this plethora of musical enactments are usually of an extremely and often elevated caliber.
That is fascinating. Now, Professor, as I see it...
They rock the house, dog.
I beg your pardon?
When my Denton homies start kicking the jams, players got game, you feel me?
Feel you? I'm sorry, I don't understand. I'm nowhere near you.
The riffs be bumping, dog.
I'm sorry, Professor, we do not have a dog here.
Folks be tripping hard to some flow, know what I'm saying? They go off the hook.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Man, you must be tripping. I thought you was all down with some straight skit. You was supposed to be a ballin' man, but you ain't got no game. I'm a ghost, man. I got peeps hanging on industrial. We gonna go chill. No need to be hanging with no bizatch hater. I'm out.
Tune in for next week's episode of Word Chat, where we will discuss the finer points of accurately screening our guests before putting them on the air with some soon-to-be former members of our production staff. This has been Conrad Nettlesworth speaking.
Fair word of warning, this information was not solicited. We got it off the internet. So if it's not exactly correct, it's not our fault.
That's right. No responsibility, none taken. We didn't even type this, which we remind everybody of every week. So, what's happening at Dan's Silverloaf? That would be Friday, May 4th at 10 p.m. We got Fox and Bird. Also, we got He's My Brother, She's My Sister, and Colonel. The cost is $8 for over 21 and $12 for under 21. And the little description here says that He's My Brother, She's My Sister are led by a brother and sister duo, the dueling lead singers and songwriters Rob Kohler and Rachel Kohler, tap dancer Lauren Brown, lap slide player Aaron Robinson, and Oliver Newell on upright bass. Their music has been called flamboyant folk, psych acoustic, or vaudeville Y, with Alleyway Rhythms and Earthly Swagger. So go fix that, I guess.
That's all the music I've ever wanted to hear.
In one shot, I know. Just all in one place.
The only band you ever need.
That's right. If you've got Earthly Swagger and Alleyway Rhythms, you're pretty much taken care of, I'm thinking. So,
what else do you need?
I can't think of anything else unless whatever they have at Haley's.
At Haley's, Friday, May 4th at 10 p.m., we have Renzo, X, June Smitty, and JWO. The cost is $6 for over 21 or $11 for minors.
That's right.
Saturday, May 5th, we have two bands, Mary Walker, Ms. Music, and two comics, Jeffrey J. and Chris Mack.
I haven't seen any of those guys, but we all know and love Mary Walker. She's actually a regular of the banter quite a bit, and actually I've known Mary for quite a while. She is a coffee house legend in Denton, which you didn't know that because you don't hang around in coffee houses, do you?
Not often enough.
No, not after that time with the giraffe and the police
hey,
car.
We don't talk about
I'm
that.
so sorry, I forgot. We weren't going to bring that up.
The lawsuit hasn't settled yet.
Oh, what did they find out? What did they decide to do with the dwarves? Oh, I'm sorry, we're not going there. Okay, so we need to carry on, I guess, and get out of there.
Anyway, go see Mary Walker at 9 p.m. on May 5th at Haley's.
That's right, and the doors do open at 9 p.m. How much does it cost to get in?
It's $5 for over 21 and $7 if you're under.
There you go. All right, seems to be a trend. Seems to be a trend going there. At Rubber Gloves, Tuesday, May 8th, Race Bannon. I love that name. Have you ever watched Johnny Quest?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So Race Bannon, that's a great name. I wonder what they were doing when they come up with that name. Yeah, so anyway.
Among other things we don't talk about on the radio.
I think so, yeah. We're not going to bring that up. Sitting around watching TV, eating cookies and drinking milk. And
like good, wholesome Americans.
And also like the Vaults of Zen, who also come up with their name the same way. And later on that night, we got Acolyte and Blooded Head. Sounds like quite the evening, if you ask me. The cost is $5 for over 21 and $7 under 21. That show starts at 10 p.m. And then Friday, at Rubber Gloves at 10 p.m., we've got Color of Alm, and they're starting to be quite a regular up there at Rubber Gloves. The Spectacle, which I'm sure is. How else? Why not?
It's an auspicious name.
Yeah, an auspicious name. But you can't really call yourselves the Auspicious. Well, you could, but
But you wouldn't be very popular.
You wouldn't be very popular, no, because people would look at it and say, I can't read that, let alone say it. LOL. So, also with that bunch, Red Light Kills and the History of the Universe. That's going to happen Friday, May 11th, and the cost for that is $6 for over 21 and $8 for under 21. And then what's happening at Banter?
At Banter on May 4th at 8 p.m., we have Jazz with Mike Luzecki. Can I try that? Luzecki?
I don't know. It sounds good to me. Mike Luzecki. That's what it looks like anyway.
All right.
His squiggly things look like Luzecki. Okay. So
at Banter on May 4th at 8 p.m., we got Jazz with Mike Luzecki. And Saturday, May 5th at 6 p.m. to 7:45, we have Chris Milio and Brian Clancy 10, or Madness.
Tenor Madness. Tenor, not 10 or as 10.
Tenor Madness.
The hyphenating hell that comes with a script.
Why do you let your...
I don't know. It just come out that way. Dehyphenate.
On Saturday, May 5th at 6 p.m., we have Chris Milio and Brian Clancy, Tenor Madness.
There you go. All right.
At 8 p.m. the same night, we have our good old Mockingbird Station.
Good old friends, old Cody Maxwell and that bunch. Yeah, that ought to be a treat. I haven't seen Cody for a while. He moved to Dallas, but we're not going to hold that against him because the rest of the band's still up here, probably living in his old apartment, I would think. So that's basically, I think, what we have for the gig schedule, but we would be remiss, Brother Robert, if we did not bring up one of the things that is near and dear to our heart, and that would be the open mic.
At Banter on Thursday nights.
On Thursday night, that's right. The list goes up at 7 o'clock promptly. If you get there later than that, you either take a chance on total rejection or public execution, whichever one you want. I guess you have a choice.
We're very flexible at Banter.
We're flexible at Banter, yeah. We'll either kill you or just throw you out the door. Now, chances are they'll just really mark it down to not getting on the list. So, although it has been kind of a little lax last couple of weeks.
Yeah, things have been crazy at the university, so I think a lot of the students are sort of staying away and doing their schoolwork instead of going out and playing for
Actually
us.
concentrating on spending that $30,000 in a good way.
How ridiculous.
I know. What are they thinking, those people? So how dare they be responsible with their father's money? So anyway, there is the open mic at Banter, and from what I understand, there's also on Wednesday night there's an open mic at Love Shack, which I have not got to. I've not got to go.
I hadn't heard of it yet.
Yeah, it's been around for a couple months, and it's a pretty well kept secret. I think we're the only ones that talk about it.
Wow.
So our 30 listeners, they all know what's going on. And that guy in the Netherlands who liked us up last week, he knows about it. But
maybe he'll be flying in.
Maybe so. So, and then Tuesday night, Brother Matt Grigsby's got one up at Crossroads, and that's kind of cool. Matt doesn't have a list; he's got a murder board.
Murder board?
A murder board. It's a dry erase board, and you walk up there and you put your name on it. And you ever see detective shows where they got the big murder board with all the pictures and photographs and circles and arrows?
The victims?
Yeah, and the stuff. Well, that's kind of what Matt's list looks like.
Oh, looks like they're more into the execution thing than we are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, it is Crossroads, which is, a little bit more of an earthy bar. So, I mean, they actually have liquor, which we're all praying that Banter gets one of these days. So Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and I think Monday night, Garage has an open mic as well, and you have to actually go online to sign up for that one.
Online?
I know. It sounds like way too much trouble, doesn't it? But apparently it's fun, so it works. So that's what I hear. I have not tried it yet.
That's way too much effort for me.
Oh, really? Really? You do not fill out the forms online, do you?
Planning things? No.
No, okay.
Not part of my milieu.
Kind of a winging it guy, are you?
Yeah.
All right.
Been good at it so far.
Okay. Except with the exception of the time with the giraffe and the dwarf. I mean,
No, that was also spontaneous.
That was spontaneous. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think you can really set up events like that.
Okay. All right. Well, how about if we set up this event? We have another tune here from our featured artist, which is Daniel Markham. And this one's called Everything's Forgetting. I don't know what that means.
You probably forgot already.
I forgot. I'm not going to. But one thing I did not forget is that you are listening to Doggy Time on DentonRadio.com. Can you dig it?
I can dig it.
I knew that you could. You see what I did there? That was pretty cool. I like that. All right, we're going to keep that in.
Don't tell me that you sold your soul for rock and roll. Don't tell me that you lost your mind somewhere inside.
best part's about you. Okay. I guess that's what we've been working up towards this entire time. So
The only thing I'm here for, just talking about myself.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. So, well, as far as you know, the check's in the mail. Okay. And we'll be changing our phone number next week. So, there we go. Okay. So, anyway. All right, my cats and kittens. That was Daniel Markham and Everything's Forgetting. And we did not forget. We did not forget that it is time now to drag to the foremost our special guest this week, who is Mr. Robert Torres, and wanted to talk to you a little bit about, where did you grow up? Because you started in one place and flipped to another one, and how did that work?
Well, I bounced around a lot, especially in my high school years, but I grew up just outside of Washington, D.C., in Rockville, Maryland, where they actually have seasons.
The home of Lewis Black, by the way.
Yes, well aware.
Yes. So.
And
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I spaced out on what I was about to say.
That was awesome. Do it again. We were talking about you grew up in D.C., just outside of D.C.
Yes, which is where Lewis Black is from, and also where Langston Hughes was discovered at Busboys and Poets.
Oh, okay.
Where I saw one of my first poetry open mics.
Oh, really? Really?
Yes, and the feature that night was narrator from Richmond, Virginia.
Right.
Who I have no idea what became of him, but he blew my mind.
Right.
And
was this kind of like a start for you? That's when you got off into poetry and all that, or?
That's when I got into performing poetry. I had been writing it since about the 4th grade.
Really?
Raised in our common culture of poetry is written. You never read it aloud.
Right.
Which is a very, very sad thing.
Right. Right.
But seeing narrator and all the other poets that night in high school just sort of lit this spark in me that I was like, oh my God, I can tell people my poems and make them listen and make them theatrical. I was like, this is everything I've ever wanted.
Wow.
Why didn't I think of it?
So really, when you approach your poetry, you actually approach the poetry from a performance standpoint. Actually, when you write the poetry, do you have that in the back of your mind? I'm going to perform this in front of human beings.
Well, especially the poets I've read and the techniques I've studied.
Right.
Their performance and the prosody are inseparable.
Right.
The focus of a poem is to make it sound good, so that people want to hear it.
Right.
That's the whole point of using fancy words instead of very straight to the point words of prose. If you want it to be fully understood, you use prose.
Right.
If you want it to sound beautiful and strike the ear and strike the heart, you use poetry.
So meretricious diadems can be in context on their juxtapolicular rates.
Indubitably.
Thank you. Okay. So, well, that's interesting because on this show we talk a lot about singer-songwriters and how they approach a tune, and whether, I think for a musician, that when you write a song, it's always in the back of your mind, this song is being written to be performed. A lot of people write songs to be recorded. This is going to be a CD. That's what's going to, that's my whole deal. When I write a song, when Bone Doggie writes a song, it is always, this song is going to be performed live first. Recorded is actually a secondary thought for us, which is maybe is why we have such a circus. You know what I'm saying? So, but I've never really talked to anybody who is a poetry writer about, is that in the back of your head when you start writing it?
I think it largely depends on the poem. There are a lot of different styles. For instance, there are very modernist or concrete poems that do very much with form on the page, playing with text, playing with space, playing with the visual identity of a poem.
Right.
And I've written those, and I've of course written performance poems where they sort of started playing in the back of my head, and it was this turn of phrase I wanted to scream at somebody, and then it was a whole paragraph, and then it was a whole argument I constructed that it just sort of flowed out of me. When I set it to the page, it already sort of existed.
Right.
There are also more formed poems where I pick a rhyme scheme, pick a meter, start laying out words in that pattern, and if I pay close enough attention and am well in practice, they come out sounding good because of the structure that you put them in.
That's the pentameter.
The one people are familiar with, iambic pentameter.
Iambic pentameter.
Which Shakespeare was, or is, well, he's dead, was.
He is dead.
The confirmed master of.
Right.
But that's...
You're right. It's like 10 beats.
Yes.
Something like that. Yes, 10 beats. Okay.
And one of the poems I brought for you today is mostly an iambic pentameter. So.
Oh, okay, cool. Alrighty. So as you now slam poetry, which category does that fit into?
Slam is definitely performance.
It's performance.
My slam pieces are definitely the ones that were sort of like playing in the back of my head to the point where I started saying them before I even started writing them. Then I started writing them down so I wouldn't forget what I was saying and I could move on with the poem.
Oh, okay.
And I think that's because slam lends itself to free flow, to internal rhymes, the sort of just things that sort of fall into place and zip back and forth and keep kicking and crashing down into themselves to just sort of make more of a mood rather than arguments.
Ah, okay.
And there are a lot of great improv slam poets.
That was going to be my next question. Is improvisation is a big part of slam.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Because it's performance-based, right? So you're
That's
up
exactly
there,
it.
might as well just wing it.
Yeah, and it's closely related to freestyle rapping. The only real difference is that one has a beat behind it and one doesn't.
What about the actual language used between the two of them? I mean, you know, it can get pretty raw and it can get pretty blue. And a lot of times, at least the people I know that I've talked to, profanity is a space saver or a space filler, if you will. It's like a rim shot.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's mostly a waste of space unless you pick very carefully how you're gonna use it. Like, if you cuss once with a poem, it's gonna sing.
Right.
You're gonna scare people when you get there.
Right.
If you're cussing every other line, that's basically just a blank beat.
Exactly.
You could just go instead. It doesn't matter. You might as well hum and haw or blah blah blah.
No, I try to be open. I try to be really open-minded, but I got to tell you, when I get to come across somebody like that, they lose me fast. And it's not only poets; musicians are the same way. I listen to a band, and you know, their lack of wordsmith and their extraordinary abundance of profanity turns me straight off. I'm done. I'm out.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. It's that when you choose to use a cuss word, you're not choosing a better word that was an actual adjective.
Right.
Or an actual image you could provide to the audience.
Right.
Instead, you gave them a meaningless word hoping to shock them. It's like, wait, they're not shocked because they've already heard it the last line.
Kind of like Howard Stern, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
You're not giving a message. You're just pissing people off who are so touchy that they still get pissed off about such things.
Exactly.
It's like, why do you even want to communicate with those people?
However, the flip side of this whole coin is actually using words and using rhythms to them. So you mentioned the iambic pentameter. Give us an example of some of your poetry. You know, on this show we usually play tunes from the band.
Right.
But since you are, and I'm lovingly saying this, Torres, since you are a muggle, which we call non-musical folk on here.
Thank you, Bone Doggie.
You're more than welcome. I would like to hear some of your poetry, since you brought that along with you. So why don't you expound some words of wisdom on the cats and kittens out there?
All right. This will be a little educational assistant.
There you go.
This is a villanelle, which is a very complicated closed form of poetry that uses a lot of repeated lines. The one I'm about to read is written in iambic pentameter, mostly. And I just re-edited it today, so if it's a little choppy, we'll take it again, yes?
Rule number 10, no excuses. We're playing it live. Go for it, Robert.
The death of Sisyphus. It always goes back to where it begins. Though I cry and moan, I cry and moan. Love keeps on fighting, but death always wins. Each day I deny the self-same, but I must atone, all must atone. It always goes back to where it begins. Pox and scars and blights will creep across young skin, but I offer my bones, offer my bones. Love keeps on fighting, but death always wins. In time for untrusting hearts to buy in, we have been undone, have been undone. It always goes back to where it begins. Quiet truth hides behind any joyous din. I am all alone, will die alone. Love keeps on fighting, but death always wins. If the gift of life is constant climbing, I will roll my stone, embrace my stone. It always goes back to where it begins. Death always wins, but love keeps on fighting.
That's awesome. Now it's called Sisyphus.
The Death of Sisyphus.
The Death of Sisyphus. And for those of you who don't know out there, for those of you athletic majors out there, my cats and kittens, Sisyphus is the guy that was doomed to roll the stone up the hill, and he gets it all the way to the top, and then it rolls right back down again.
Forever and ever.
That's right. He keeps going. So I like that. I like the turn in which you fit that in there and use that phrase, and because he doesn't die in the actual story, he does it forever. But
forever.
You put a period to that little story there and turned it in on yourself. That's pretty awesome.
Well, to get a little more nerdier,
Right.
there's an essay by Albert Camus called The Myth of Sisyphus, which invented absurdist philosophy.
Absurdist philosophy.
Yes.
Okay. Sounds fascinating.
Okay. Well, absurdism is an offshoot of existentialism, which was the win, nothing's ever gonna happen, nothing matters, blah blah blah. Absurdism takes that on its head and says, well, nothing matters because we don't know what matters.
Right.
Which means that we should just do whatever we can that we think is good or useful and hope for the best and just keep laughing at everything.
That's kind of close to skating on nihilistic there. If you,
Whatever works.
Whatever works. There you go. See? Oh, you're much more open-minded. All right, very cool. So what would be another example, a good example of a poem, a different style poem from what you just did?
Okay, well, I also write a lot of free verse poetry, which is mostly inspired just by every other poem I've read, just having little words trickle down and having things I want to say to people or just arguments I want to make. This is sort of the repressed poet side of me, just like, this would have been so cool if it actually happened, or this.
Boy,
if
I
only
go
I could
through
reach
that.
out and say this to you.
Oh yeah, and sometimes we do reach out and say things to people, and we get mail the next day. So, so, all right, well, give us an example of that. Whip one out here for us.
All right, well, this one I just found out is getting published in the Sagebrush Review in San Antonio.
Awesome. Which is Sagebrush Review? What is that?
It is the student literary journal at the University of Texas at San Antonio.
Cool.
Where I was once a student. Before
okay.
becoming a screaming eagle. Is that what we are?
Mean Green Eagle. That's right. We're Mean Green Eagles now.
All right.
So.
Well, back when I was a roadrunner, I got involved in the Sagebrush. And after staying involved, I submitted some of my work, and they have chosen Storm and Urge.
Very cool.
And that one goes like this. Yes, we kissed in the rain. Yes, we sought shelter and made love in the gazebo, just like the first time. But you haven't read that part. But I have, 'cause I wrote it. And hell, I was there, too. And was she drunk, or was I? Or was it even liquor? No. Cough syrup. 2 bottles between us. And you weren't there, but maybe she was channeling your future self. Future then, past now, but present in that storm, though more absent than present as you stared off into the rain like you were waiting for him to come back, to push me aside and slay me. I would have rather sat there by myself, drunk on liquor or cough syrup or whatever, enjoying you as a thought so your own desires didn't butt in. But the water was all too cool and all too real, and let neither of us drift away. And maybe we both made love for the first time that day. Bodies and minds in sexual congress, bicameral copulence. The water would try to wash it away, but we would make more. We would stain the ground. But the ground wasn't stained, and we never made love, and we never kissed. We never met. He never left you. I never left that gazebo way back when, because I was never there to begin with. It's raining tomorrow. I know a park with a gazebo in it. We could have a picnic all to ourselves, away from prying eyes, former lovers, even each other, if we just keep watching the rain fall down.
That's awesome. This what could have happened in the past is actually what may happen tomorrow.
Yeah, which
kind of a twist there.
Funny story about that poem is that date, I wrote that before that happened. That date did happen. We had a picnic in the park in the rain, and it was totally awful.
I'll bet. Rain and picnics are not usually, conducive.
No. His idea, his fantasy,
right,
was to go out into the rain and have a picnic. And
how fun.
Being my eccentric, absurdist self, went, all right, okay. I'll woo this boy by taking him out in the rain. Not so much. Then the following weekend, I read that to him,
and
I don't want to talk about that part.
Okay. didn't want to bring up the soggy Twinkies either. Yeah, okay. So that's
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah. I have a bad habit of like reading poems I've written about boys to
Right.
boys, which I don't know, for you non-poets out there, really bad idea.
Yeah, well, guys are not trained for poetry. We really aren't, and it's an acquired taste, I think. Sometimes you never know. So speaking of poetry, you have concocted, right under our eyeballs, as a matter of fact, Poetry Out Loud.
Yes, sir.
And you are doing that at Banter most of the time. Have you managed to put that anywhere else? Have you?
I haven't reached out anywhere yet.
Right.
Right now, our next show is at Banter on May 12th.
May 12th.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay.
It'll be my return to the stage after 3 months.
Oh,
which, if you don't know,
very
is a
good.
very long time for me.
Yeah, because I was at the first one and you did perform that one. I missed the second one. Did you not perform at that one?
No, I did November, January, and February. And then I had my lovely show that I was working on
Oh, that's
March
right.
and April.
That's right.
The Faculty Dance Concert at UNT.
Yes, there you go.
But I'll be returning.
Very
And
cool.
I also have a project that's still very nebulous right now. I'm working with Atomic Tan Lines, who are a new punk band
Uh-huh.
rolling around with Allison Lowe, Taylor Honeydew.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
And,
yeah.
Yeah.
Very
They've been to a few of the Poetry Out Loud shows.
Yes,
but
yes.
They're a punk band. They've been playing the Lions Den. They played Rubber Gloves.
Right.
And also Karate Rape Vengeance.
I love that.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes. Their member Matt Freeze has gotten on this project. And
Good
what,
old Matt.
Yes.
Good old Matt. He's
Yes.
in that bag.
And all these punks and some of my poets from Poetry Out Loud have been trying to concoct what I have dubbed a Punk Poet Society.
Ah, okay.
Which, for those of you unfamiliar with the Jazz Poet Society, is...
Beat poetry.
Yes. Yes. Jazz poetry developed out of the original beat poetry, which was Jack Kerouac and Allen Ginsberg and all those other crummy poets who wrote boring, wandering beats to really crummy, boring jazz. Not to say that all jazz is, but beat jazz is
That we could have a couple day long discussion about all of that because
Yeah.
yes, I agree, and a little bit I don't agree, but yes, I do agree. So yeah,
But
we
anyway,
can walk that. But
yeah.
so anyway, you've got this new project you're working on.
Yes. Punk poet. What I want punk poetry to be is an evolution of the Jazz Poet Society, where we replace the jazz with live, angry punk, and we replace the beat poetry with, energetic, like slam influenced,
Right.
street influenced, punk influenced, free verse poetry.
Okay, so it's more aggressive, if nothing else.
Yes, and
Yeah.
we want to bring in activism. We want to bring in why we're pissed off. We want to give the youth and give all the people a voice to express themselves.
Very cool.
And it'll hopefully be slightly friendlier than punk.
Right.
And I want to bring in photographers. I want to bring in painters. I want these to be
The arts.
Yes.
The arts.
I want this to become sort of a center for happenings for
very cool.
local activists.
And where are you talking about doing this at?
I've been talking with Rubber Gloves about putting it there.
Probably the perfect place for it.
Yes, because they've been very excited about expanding their punk image.
Well, they have been, and most of the groups that have been playing there, I know within since the beginning of the year, have been punk influence. That's the house for punk in this town.
Yes.
You can get a little bit of it here at Andy's, and you can get once in a blue moon, you can get it out of Abbey Underground, but by and large, Rubber Gloves is pretty much for that venue.
Yeah. Well, they want
that's
it.
Awesome. That's awesome. That works.
Yeah, they want it. We've got it.
Good deal.
And I want to bring it to the people.
Very cool. Well, be sure to let us know when that happens.
Hopefully that'll be coming to fruition over the summer as
Right.
I and the punks finish our school semesters and we
Right,
can
there you
dedicate
go.
ourselves to being crazy artistes, as it were.
I was going to say, yeah, there is the underlying fact that bloody well almost all of you guys are actually in school. And so
We can't rightly do this kind of thing for a living now. Come on.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. So we could sit down and have a 2-day conversation about that, as a matter of fact. Yeah, but very cool. All right, well, I think that's about what we got for tonight, and I really want to thank you for coming out. I appreciate this.
Thank you for having me.
It is about time. Like as the waves make towards the pebbled shore, so do our minutes hasten to their end. How's that? I think I ripped that off from Shakespeare. I probably did. I rip almost everything I got off with Shakespeare.
Not a bad place to rip things off.
I know, but it's great stuff to rip off. But
plus he's dead, so he can't sue you.
I know, and it's probably been dead long enough that good old Wild Bill is public domain by now. Do you think? Maybe. Definitely. So, ASCAP, BMI, if you're listening,
step off.
Raspberry, that's right. Step off. All right. Well, as always, my cats and kittens, we'd like to invite you to keep listening to DentonRadio.com and tune in at this time next week. That is every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Same doggy time, same doggy channel.
And if you want to listen to Doggy Time anytime, you can just click on the Doggy Time button on your DentonRadio.com player, and that will take you to our blog at DentonRadioblog.com, where you'll also be able to hear past episodes of the show. You can also find Denton Radio on Facebook, so leave a post on the wall and let Bone Doggie know what you think of the show.
And if you didn't like the show, lie and tell us that we were wonderful. So spread the gospel, my cats and kittens. Tell your friends and loved ones about us. We support local here at DentonRadio.com, and we do hope you do too. So, well, sir, we are going to give Daniel Markham one more spin before we saunter off into the great distance. And this is his song, Ooh, Darkness.
Ooh, darkness.
do it real dramatic.
Ooh, darkness.
That's pretty good. I like that. All right. And you are listening to Doggy Time. Can you dig it?
I can dig it.
I thought you could.